People who have a pet at home, at what point did you realize that the pet really, consciously, understood you? We scold our cats if they go on the kitchen counter. One day I hear a cat mowing and meowing and he just won't stop. I go to the kitchen to find him on the floor, meowing and staring at our other cat on the counter. This mef is a snitch. I get migraines fairly regularly. I also have two cats that I adopted 3 years apart. My older cat, now a dashing senior citizen at 11 years old, can usually predict my migraines about 3 days in advance. I know this because he'll insist on sniffing my temples and hairline and will try and usher me back into bed a few hours before one kicks in, and then once him on my ass with the migraine, dark room eye mask and all. You'll hear him yelling at my husband outside the bedroom door if we let him in the bedroom. He immediately curls up near me and will not let anyone, namely my husband, get close until I'm either functional or asleep. When I was little, I was bullied by kids at school. I would come home and spend time in the backyard with my dog. She was my best friend at that time. I used to sit on the stairs in the backyard and quietly cry, so my mom wouldn't hear. My dog would sit right in front of me and inch closer and closer until she was close enough to place her head on my shoulder and I could hug her. She would stay with me until I was done crying. She made me feel safe and it was like she was telling me everything will be okay. She knew that I was hurting inside. She absolutely knew. My ex destroyed our lives. I was absolutely struggling horribly to hold it together and was barely managing. I mean, I was a wreck. Couldn't stop crying. Absolutely fell apart. My son's dog would not leave my side. She and I had never been close, but she knew. She absolutely knew. Every time I sat down, she had her face or paw in my lap. If I moved, she moved. She was instantly my shadow. Still have her. She's asleep by my footboard right now. The ex has been gone almost 2 years. I have a 9-month-old tortie cat. I was crying in my room after a long day. I heard her little paws running up the stairs. She entered my room, jumped on my chest, let out a sad meow, and rubbed her face on mine. I was crying tears of happiness after that cause she's so damn cute. I cried on my dog's little shoulder because my grandmother was an absolute bully and had spent a day tormenting me. The next day, the only time in the 16 years this dog was on the planet, she took a massive shit right where my grandmother would step when getting out of bed. At first my grandmother tried having the dog punished, but my dad, and in a surprising act of solidarity, my mom feigned worry that she was sick and she never ever had accidents. Later I saw my dad slip her extra treats. My dog understood my grandmother was hurting me and breaking my 8-year-old heart every day and did the only thing she could do in my defense. When I slept over at my BFF's place when we were first dating, I filled the space his cat usually took on the bed. One of the first nights I was there, the cat played a trick on me. He jumped on the bed, saw that I was there, and checked that I was awake and my BF was asleep. He then jumped down again, walked out into the hallway, and started to cry as if something was really wrong. I got up to check that he was okay, and the second I was out of bed he sprinted past me, launched himself onto the bed, and curled up where I'd been. He then dug his claws in and refused to move. I had to contort myself around him the rest of the night. Elmo 1010 cat. He died about 6 months later, and we both still miss him. I used to be a paranoid stoner and would panic if someone ever knocked on my door. My consistent negative reactions led to my cat running up to the door and growling. It was a nice sentiment that she was willing to protect me, but she always ran and hid once the door was opened. He came from a bad situation with his previous owner. Whenever I was around, he would come to me because he knew I wouldn't let him get hurt. My poor little buddy. He used to bug me for breakfast immediately after I got out of the shower. One time I yelled to my son to feed him. Then I turned to him and said, "Son's name is going to feed you." He immediately ran downstairs to my son for breakfast. He's an orange tabby, too. Never thought he had a brain cell before that. When the phone rang, and the only one at home was my first cat, so he answered the phone, and kept the caller on the line until we arrived. We got in and saw the phone hanging off the table. I promptly hung it up. The cat gave me an immediate glare, and then the phone rang and an indignant voice asked, "Why did you hang up on me?" He had been talking to the cat for over 5 minutes. This may also say something about the person on the other end. I have an orange tabby, so never. When I was 8 months pregnant and my 1-year-old wouldn't go to sleep at 11:30 at night, my dog was sitting on the couch with me and I was just letting the baby play because I was exhausted. I had given up on sleeping because nothing was working. She put her paw on my belly and snuggled really close to me. Then all of a sudden she jumped up. She went over to the baby and lay down next to him, and he started petting her. Then she went over to her bed and the baby followed. Eventually he fell asleep next to her on the dog bed. As soon as he was asleep, she jumped back on the couch. I spent 2 hours walking my horse one night right after a snowstorm in 20 weather. She was coalescing and I knew no vets could make it out on the roads. I told her I'd drag her soul back from hell myself if I had to, and I was out there freezing because I wasn't giving up on her. She wasn't allowed to either. When we finally stopped and I sat in her stall for another 30 min to make sure she went to the bathroom, she spent the whole time with her head right next to mine, breathing with me. She was absolutely exhausted the next day, spent most of the day napping. But ever since that night I think her and I have a different understanding of each other. In a good way. The simplest way I can describe it is it seems like she trusts me way more, and we'd already had a pretty good relationship built. I have pugs they will never. One ate a rock today. My previous cat legit was attuned to my schedule, woke me up before alarms, bothered me to go to bed if I was on PC too late. If I was depressed I got sat on and purred. Just needed to call her and she came running. She was not always like this and did not get clingy like that up after 10 years old, still miss her. It was so lovely having someone to check on you and take care of you like that. Did the best I could for her over the years, healthy food, new toys, vet checks for everything, fed her seizure meds so she only had to suffer twice. Got chicken every time I cooked her salmon. Swear the second I open a package of chicken from market she would wake up and come running. Never lost her appetite till he very end. Gave her ice cream and sushi the last meal. Sorry this is long, just venting, still been a couple months, but had her for half my life. I train my cats to learn about 15 tricks, but I am constantly amazed that they do understand some random words. Like I walk them on a lead, and they understand when I say go home cause they will trot back home. But the smarter of the two will sometimes bite the lead to say he doesn't want to go back. And in general they do so much stuff to demonstrate that they are smart, sentient beings that I just don't understand how people can see animals as less than. When my mum died, my dog asked nothing of me. Even as weeks turned into months, he somehow understood that a good day looked like a walk and a shower before going straight back to bed. Up till then, patience was not really a thing for either of us. My last puppers Wiley was smart, like really smart. I could ask him to go find specific toys, he'd always find his favorite first, but then he'd go find what you were asking him to find. We'd play hide and seek all the time, with various family members hiding, and he'd go off and find everyone one by name. Where's mom? Where's dad? Where's the little girl? Where's the kitty? He was always so happy to show that he knew what he was doing. One day, after an hour or so of playing various hiding games, I asked him, where's Wiley? He just sat there, tail stuck mid-wag, face kind of concerned, and I could tell he was thinking, I know this. I know there's a Wiley here and it's important and everyone loves it. Never could figure out how to find himself though. Missed the heck out of that brilliant silly puppers.